enjoyed celebrating a baptism recently with a family, and the father is Robert Conklin II. One of the sons was Robert Conklin III. And I was speaking after the baptism with Robert Conklin I, and he was telling me about his conversion. He lives in Wyoming or Montana, and carpenter, works many long days. Well, he said one of his sons was going on a net ministry located here in West St. Paul, and at that time he began to think about the meaning of life, importance of life, and he started praying a little bit every day. And he decided that he would do this for his life, his spiritual life. He decided that he would tithe 10% of his time to God in prayer. So he measures every day, he prays 2.4 hours. 24 hours a day, tithes 10% of his day to God in prayer. So he rises at 4:30 in the morning and he prays rosaries, other devotions, reads his scripture, and gets to church when he can. One thing he decided to do for all his grandchildren, because they hadn't come yet, and now he has 10 of them, but he decided that he would purchase a rosary at a certain significant place, have it blessed, and then he would pray literally hundreds of rosaries for his future grandchildren. And I baptized the 10th, and at the baptism he gave that rosary on which he had prayed hundreds of rosaries to his grandson. I thought that was really beautiful. That was really something precious. All those kids know their grandfather spent so much time praying for them. Well, Advent is a season of preparation. Season of preparation to meet Jesus, to meet Christ. And what might you do in your Advent season? Would you pledge something? A lot of times we think about Lent, we're going to do something, but Advent's called Little Lent. It's another season to sort of make a pledge of some kind. Think about it. Some people read, for example, the book of Isaiah during Advent, because it's read through the liturgy. It's a beautiful document. It's sort of a fifth gospel, promising or professing Christ to come, prophesying about him before he arrived. Others do a little more fasting or some service and so on. In our first reading today, we hear about peace. And I was really struck by this, because we're in a world that needs peace, and we need peace. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. One nation will not raise the sword against another, nor shall they train for war again. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. What does that mean? That means they're taking their weapons of war and they're making them farm implements. They're altering them so that they're no longer weapons. Now, to do that, you have to have a certain amount of confidence you're not going to get attacked tomorrow, right? If you're taking your weapons of war and make them into farm tools, you're pretty confident war's not coming. And how would we have that kind of confidence? Well, we have that kind of confidence because Jesus Christ is in our hearts and in our lives. A nation that is not set on God does not have peace. And the same with every man or woman. If our hearts and minds are set on Jesus Christ, he will bring peace to our interior and peace to our relationships. Okay? And that's something the human heart longs for. And our nation too. I was actually encouraged by some comments that Putin made from Russia more recently. He said the West doesn't know how to call the season its true name anymore. They can't even say the true words of what the holiday is because they're afraid it has religious connotations. And I was like, wow, Vladimir Putin was actually calling us to call the season what it really is, Advent and Christmas and so on. Well, Jesus Christ has to be the center of our lives. Number two, we have to have lives of prayerfulness. I mentioned Robert Conklin first. Peace comes through adoration. Peace comes in the stillness where love is exchanged. And even as we look towards the end of the semester with a lot of papers and a lot of tests, I invite you in the season of Advent to consider something that you might do by way of your prayer life. What might God invite you to do? Some small addition. And finally, Vatican II says that peace is a work of justice. We have to have justice to have peace. St. Augustine was one of our great theologians who wrote on the just war. And many of you maybe know some of the tenets of the just war. But we have a list of a number of things. We must be acting in self-defense of the innocent. Okay? The aggressor must leave some kind of condition that is grave and lasting and evil for us to respond. And we should be trying to decipher between combatants and civilians. And it's the rule of the state to be able to judge, a matter of prudence and so on. There are a number of very prudential and wise tenets for a just war. But most of all, we hunger for peace. We hunger for peace. Okay? And peace is a fruit of justice. And justice starts with you and me on Black Friday. It starts with us acting ethically. I don't know about you. Did you go shopping on Black Friday? All the parking lots were kind of jammed in St. Cloud where I was at. Menards had long, long lines. Everyone getting their tools. Well, all right, today, let's turn to Jesus now, the source of our peace. I invite you to consider your Advent season. There's some discipline that you would like to do in a season of Advent. And let's all pray for peace, tithe something of our time to God, that the Lord would, through us, bring justice to our culture, and the fruit of it, which would be a peaceful culture.